Now, President Biden's handling of the migrant crisis is not sitting well with the American electorate. A new poll shows that only 23% approve of his handling of the situation at the southern border, while 62% disapprove. This comes as American President Andrés Manuel López Obrador is saying he wants to meet with Biden in Washington in early November. The Mexican president is hoping to speak with Biden about immigration, drug trafficking, and other issues. Joining us now is Chad Wolf. He is the former acting Homeland Security Secretary under President Donald Trump, and he is also the executive director of the America First Policy Institute. Mr. Secretary, thanks for being with us. I know that you fundamentally disagree with the way that the Biden administration has handled this, but no matter who's president, this is a very difficult situation, right? You must have some sympathy, at least, for how the Team Biden, what the problem they're facing here, right?
Well, I do and I don't. Absolutely. It's a difficult situation under the best circumstances to secure that border and do all the things that you need to do. But look, they made the decisions that they've made over the last 2.5 years. They canceled very effective programs, and they haven't really put anything in place. So the results are their results. They need to own them. They need to be honest with the American people about what's going on at that border. And they need to be honest that they with themselves. They can change it if they chose to. Given the authorities that they have, they can change this in a matter of weeks. They won't take the decisions that are needed to do that.
What are those decisions? What would you do?
Ooh, we got a long list here. I mean, look, first of all, you've got to empower the Border Patrol to do their job. You got to get them out of the facilities. You got to stop processing the migrants, and you got to start putting them back on the line for them to do their national security mission. I would restart certain sections of the border wall system. I would restart Remain in Mexico. I would restart our asylum agreements with 3 countries in Central America. I would let ICE officers do their job, start to remove individuals, particularly those with final orders of removal here in the United States. All of this sends a signal that it's not okay to break our laws, and you're going to see some of those numbers start to drop. Unfortunately, what we have with the Biden administration is the complete opposite, which is that catch and release program, which is why more and more individuals are coming. It's not because they're hearing about different things. They're coming for one simple reason, which is if they get in the United States, they're released into American communities, and they call their friends and families back home, and they say, look, it was pretty easy. Once I got here, it was pretty easy. They released me in a matter of days.
I want to ask you, Republicans have been taking some really tough rhetorical stances about what they would do. The Republican candidates for president and throughout the party about deploying special forces, deploying military assets in Mexico and against Mexico. There's a lot of concern, though, that this could make the problem worse instead of better, that it could fragment the cartels, that it could create a diplomatic crisis with Mexico. Do you have any concern about the rhetoric ratcheting up on the Republican side about the use of military force across the border or against Mexico?
Look, I think some of the rhetoric that we see is the frustration that not only the candidates have, but the American people have about what's going on that border. Either you're going to simply look at what's going on and say, hey, that's just kind of how it is, or you're going to say, I'm tired of admiring the problem that we've had now for decades, and I'm going to do something about it. And doing something about it means maybe you got to go outside of the status quo. So maybe you got to throw some things on the table that are a little bit uncomfortable, but that's okay. But you got to start talking about these things, and you got to start leveling with the government of Mexico, the president of Mexico, and say, look, we're not happy with what's going on. We're not happy that you allow 2,000 individuals to come across that border from Mexico into the United States. If you don't think the Mexican government knows and the Mexican military knows that 2,000 people were amassed on their side of the border, you're living in la-la land. Of course they know this, but they're not taking the necessary steps to deter that. And so I think you've got to put some things on the table that the Mexican government doesn't like.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.